Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to a new year. It is 2025, and as is customary, most people set out new resolutions, things that they are trying to accomplish in the new year to improve their mental health, their physical health, their appearance, their habits, a whole bunch of things. And so we're going to be talking about that today. What we're going to talk about is the 3 things that are killing your resolutions and are making them unsuccessful as you try to make positive changes for yourself, and things that you can do instead using a cognitive behavioral standpoint to be able to make resolutions and goals that work for you that are successful in the long run. Before we get into this discussion, please do like and subscribe. We recently hit 10,000 just before the end of the year. I'm really excited about that. It's such a privilege to be able to have this kind of platform and to be connected with all of you all. I know one of the highlights in my year in recap from YouTube Analytics was seeing that we had 7,000 comments over the past year. I love that kind of engagement and dialogue with you all, so please keep that up. Please subscribe, help the channel to keep growing so we can continue having discussions about topics related to mental health. With all that being said, let's dive right into the topic. The first thing that's causing your resolutions to not be as successful as you would like is focusing too much on the end result. I think a really common resolution is maybe talking about weight loss, wanting to lose 10 pounds, for example. And I've been in this boat, wanting to lose weight, whether it's for aesthetics, whether it's for physical ability, for health, or for any number of reasons. I'm not so worried about the reason that you are setting this kind of resolution. But this is one where people have a lot of trouble with focusing too much on the end result. We're looking too far forward to, oh, I'm gonna look great, I'm gonna feel great, I'm gonna perform better athletically, or any number of things. And what happens is that we focus so much on the end goal that we start despising the process of getting there. Think of it as like a road trip. Whatever feels like a long road trip to you. For me, that hits around like maybe the 5 or 6 hour mark where things start to really drag, but we're so focused on getting there. It's gonna be awesome. You know, the destination is exciting and we can't wait to be there. But what happens is we focus so much on the end result that now every mile that we have to drive feels that much longer and it doesn't feel enjoyable. And so when we don't appreciate the process, it becomes really hard to engage in the steps that we need to do to get to that point. For instance, if I'm trying to lose weight without cultivating a habit and an enjoyment of eating well and exercising consistently, then it's going to be really hard to reach the end goal, the desire that I want, which is the loss of those 10 pounds or however many pounds that you're talking about, because I'm having to force myself every single time to do the steps that are necessary to get to that point. And the same thing goes for if you want to read a certain amount of books by the end of the year. If you don't cultivate a habit of enjoying reading, of enjoying quiet time, or of weaning yourself off of your phone, then there's going to be a constant struggle that you are trying to read these number of books without being able to actually enjoy the process that makes it worthwhile. And what we'll also find, and this is really relevant in the weight loss category, is that progress is not linear. And this goes for mental health as well. Progress is not linear. So that means that there are going to be ups and downs throughout your process of losing weight, improving your mental health, pretty much any habit that you put into place. And if we don't cultivate an enjoyment of the process, if we're just so focused on that end goal, I have to get to this point right here, then it becomes really discouraging every time we see some kind of setback or we're not getting there as quickly as we think we should be getting, because we're so focused on going from here to here instantly instead of being able to enjoy and cultivate the process in between. So that would be my first suggestion, is focus on the steps in between. What habits do I need to cultivate? What are the concrete steps that I need to practice and enjoy to be able to get to that point? And then the progress will come over time. The second problem that I see in both myself and in other people as we're trying to cultivate new resolutions, new habits, or meet certain goals for improving ourselves is that we focus too much on making the right changes. And this might sound kind of counterintuitive. Of course, don't we want to cultivate good habits? Don't we want to make the right changes? Yes, but there's a caveat to that when we focus too much on making the perfect changes. Think of it as trying to jump too far ahead when you haven't learned to walk or run yet. When we're talking about building healthy habits, we want to build a solid foundation because we are trying to work around old habits that we've deemed unhealthy or unhelpful for us. And so if we try to go from here, this kind of habit, all the way to this end in one night, it's going to be very hard to sustain that because we don't have any of the infrastructure in place to first work against this habit and then also to build towards this one. Think of it in terms of maybe eating healthy as an example. And these are all examples from my own experience. If I go from eating junk food and eating a bunch of foods that I think are unhealthy or not helpful for where I want to be health-wise, physical-wise, athletic-wise, and then I'm trying to switch around. Let's say I'm trying to eat a lot of vegetables, okay? And so I go out and buy like spaghetti squash, a bunch of whole vegetables, things like that, and then they sit in my fridge. I don't know how to cook them. I don't enjoy eating them. And it's time consuming to make them. I don't have the time carved out to look up recipes, prep them properly. And so what happens, all of those fresh vegetables that I got, because that's the right way to prepare to eat healthy, that's the right way to eat more vegetables, go unused, sit rotting in my fridge until we throw it out a couple of weeks later. And so the goal by itself is a good one. I want to eat healthier. I want to eat more fruits and vegetables. Great. But what happens is that I set myself too high because I was looking at the end product again, and I was trying to take the steps to just put in that end product right away instead of working up to it. And so there's a book that I read about habits before where it says to just do the bare minimum, remove any potential obstacles, make it as stupid easy as you can right at the beginning so that you can start making progress towards the eventual ideal goal that you want. And so if I were trying to eat healthier, for example, or eat more vegetables, that might look like buying a bag of pre-cut, pre-washed baby carrots with ranch dip or something like that that I enjoy eating. Or maybe it's just buying a bag of salad that's already assembled. I just need to pour it into a bowl and be able to eat it. That is eating more vegetables and removing as many obstacles as I can to actually making that happen. Long term, this may not be what I want my healthy eating to look like, but it is a step in the right direction, setting up that infrastructure, setting up that scaffolding so that I can eventually build up to it. I am learning to eat those vegetables. I'm learning to shop more in that section of the grocery store. I am learning to include that in my diet and learn to expect that in my diet. And then over time, as I learn recipes, as I learn how to prep some vegetables, as I learn how to cook them, that's a way that I can slowly incorporate that and make that a reality instead of trying to jump from 0 to 100 right away. The basic cognitive error in this problem is all or nothing thinking. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna eat healthier or I'm gonna exercise, so I have to do it all the right way. Otherwise, it doesn't count. We see this with exercise as well. You'll see probably in the gym, if you go regularly at the beginning of the year, there are gonna be a bunch of people there. But what happens is if you tell yourself, oh, I have to get like a 60-minute workout in every single time, there are gonna be times because you're instituting a new habit that's not carved into your schedule. And so if you're not happy with anything less than 60 minutes, say if you can't be satisfied by saying, oh, I'm gonna take a walk for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, then that's not gonna feel like it's worth it to you, and you're gonna end up not doing the exercise more often than not because that all or nothing thinking says, I have to get my full 60 minutes in, otherwise it's not worth doing at all. And so the thought that I can replace that with is, let me do the 1% step. And what I mean by that, this is something that I've used with my clients a lot and I've talked about on the channel before. I think a lot of times my clients, myself included actually, we want to go from 0 to 100% right away. I'm not exercising at all. I want to start working out for an hour every single day. That's a great goal. I think there is no doctor on earth that is going to disagree with you that that is a healthy and helpful goal unless you have some kind of pre-existing condition. But that's 0 to 100 thinking. You might be able to pull that off some days, but sustainably, that's not likely unless you're willing to say, hey, let me just start by taking a walk every day. That's a 1% step. Maybe I'll walk around school instead of driving. That is a 1% step, very doable, something that I can do consistently that builds towards that progress of being more active, having more exercise in my life without having to plan my entire day around it. And then over time, as I get used to that level of activity, it becomes normal for me. Then I can progress to maybe 2%. Maybe that means I'm going to the gym now every other day and working out for 30 minutes. And so as I'm okay with those 1% steps gradually over time, that works up to 50%, 75%, maybe 100%, but you're building that habit over time, building that infrastructure over time so that that can actually support your 100% goal instead of trying to just slap everything together in one day. And that brings me to the final cognitive error that we run into when we're setting resolutions or trying to accomplish goals. We focus too much on our failures. And this is really big when we're talking about that all or nothing thinking or focusing too much on the end goal, is that those failures become very obvious to us. Oh man, I said I was going to go to the gym for an hour for 5 days this week and I only made it once. I'm a failure, it's not worth it, I can't do it. There's a lot of thoughts that go into that when we focus too much on our setbacks and how we're not accomplishing our goals. Rather, we can focus on, hey, I made it out there one day. It was a tough week and I made it out there one day still, and we can build on that. I can keep doing more. One day is more than I would have done otherwise because I was going 0 days. And this goes for things like diet, sleep, mental health. You know, we want to institute daily habits, which is great, but those don't happen overnight. And so when we focus too much on like, oh, I missed a day or I messed up today, then that becomes discouraging. It makes us not want to try for maybe the rest of the day. I didn't do my daily mindfulness meditation in the morning, and then I'm just beating myself up for doing it wrong. Then I don't have any incentive to do it right the rest of the day, or to try to do something else to make up for that, or still accomplish the goal, or be able to be motivated to try again tomorrow. You know, we talk about relapse within the stages of change when it comes to addiction. This is true for any kind of behavior change, that because you're working against old habits, you're trying to establish new habits. There's a period where there's just going to be relapses, where the old habit shows itself because that's our normal way of being, our normal way of acting, or our normal way of thinking. That doesn't mean you failed, but what we're trying to do is just increase the amount of time that elapses between those relapses. And perhaps we might eliminate the relapse completely, but what we're talking about is just recognizing that that's a normal part of the process of change. Yeah, I've been doing things this way for 3 or 4 years. I'm not suddenly going to be perfect at doing it this new way. It takes time to learn. It takes time to habituate to that. And so it's important when we feel like we've messed up somehow, that we don't compound the mistake by making it worse, by beating ourselves over it. We need to put that within the context of the changes that we're trying to make. And what we can do is notice what we're telling ourselves. Am I telling myself that I'm a failure, or that I'm never going to accomplish this goal, or that it isn't worth doing because it's not doable? Those are all thoughts that we need to be aware of. And then when we notice that we're telling ourselves those things, then we can put that into a larger context. Okay, I'm trying something new. This is a normal part of establishing a new habit. I'm not going to be perfect right away. When we notice what we're telling ourselves, that's when we have the ability to change what we're telling ourselves, or to intentionally remind ourselves of things that are important, or put things in their proper context. So those are 3 cognitive mistakes that are killing your resolutions, and 3 ways to reframe that or think about it differently in a way that might be more helpful and more conducive to us actually accomplishing the goals that we set out for ourselves. I hope this video has been helpful for you all. Again, please do like and subscribe, as that helps our channel to grow. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you all next time.